The invisible maid who became the king's queen. The scent of lavender oil lingered on Elise Thorne's hands as she polished the grand staircase leading to the king's private chambers. It was still dawn, and the palace remained wrapped in silence. These early hours were her favorite because no one noticed her. For 3 years, Elise had lived as a shadow within the palace walls. She cleaned floors, polished silver, and disappeared into the background. Her mother had taught her long ago that girls like them survived by being invisible. The quiet ones endure, her mother always said. Elise believed it. Everything changed on one ordinary morning. While polishing the staircase, she heard footsteps descending from above. She immediately stepped aside, eyes lowered. King Rowan Ashford appeared. Tall, powerful, and commanding, he was the most feared Alpha King in the realm. Elise expected him to walk past without noticing her, just as everyone else did. Instead, he stopped. "You're here early," he said. Elise nearly dropped her cloth. "Every morning, Your Majesty." For a moment, he studied her. Then he asked something no one in the palace had ever bothered to ask. "What's your name?" The question stunned her. "Elise Thorne, Your Majesty." He repeated her name slowly. "Elise." Something shifted in the air. That brief conversation should have ended there. It didn't. Over the next several weeks, King Rowan kept finding her. In the library. In the gardens. In the portrait gallery. Everywhere. At first, Elise tried avoiding him. She changed her work schedule and took different routes through the palace. It never worked. Somehow, Rowan always appeared. Their conversations grew longer. He asked questions no one had ever asked her. Was she happy? Did she dream of something more? Did she ever feel trapped? Elise always answered carefully, but Rowan seemed to see through every wall she built. One morning, he looked directly into her eyes and said, "You spend your entire life trying to disappear." Elise's heart raced. "I'm just doing my job." "No," Rowan replied softly. "You're hiding." The truth of those words haunted her. For the first time, someone truly saw her. And for the first time, she began seeing him too. Behind the crown and authority stood a lonely man. A king burdened by duty. A ruler surrounded by people who wanted something from him. Yet none of them truly knew him. Only Elise did. Weeks passed. Then everything changed. One afternoon, Elise was assigned to clean the king's private study. The room was empty when she entered. Or so she thought. Suddenly, the door opened. Rowan stepped inside. His expression was different. Determined. Serious. Dangerous. "Do you know what tomorrow is?" he asked. Elise shook her head. "The spring solstice." He looked away briefly. "The council has arranged a selection ceremony." Her stomach tightened. "A queen?" "Yes. 12 noble Omega women would attend. The kingdom expected him to choose a bride. To secure the bloodline. To fulfill tradition." Elise forced herself to smile. "That's wonderful, Your Majesty." But Rowan's expression darkened. "No." He moved closer. "I don't want any of them." Elise's breath caught. "Your Majesty. I haven't wanted anyone else since the day I learned your name." The world stopped. Every law. Every tradition. Every expectation. Everything stood between them. "This is impossible," she whispered. Rowan gave a bitter smile. Yes. He knew it. She was a maid. He was a king. The kingdom would never accept them. Yet his eyes never left hers. "I don't care." Elise felt tears threaten. "When this ends, it will destroy me." Rowan gently touched her cheek. Then I won't let it end. That night changed everything. For the first time, neither of them hid behind titles or duties. They spoke honestly. About loneliness. About fear. About dreams. For one precious night, they were simply Rowan and Elise. Not king and servant. Not alpha and maid. Just two souls who finally felt understood. But morning always brings reality. The next day, the grand selection ceremony began. The palace ballroom overflowed with nobles. 12 beautiful Omega women stood in a line before the throne. Every family expected victory. Every council member watched carefully. Elise stood silently among the servants, carrying a tray of refreshments. She forced herself to watch. This was how their story ended. Rowan would choose a noble bride. The kingdom would celebrate. And she would return to being invisible. The king slowly walked past each candidate. The room remained silent. Everyone waited. Finally, he reached the end of the line. He turned toward the crowd. I have made my decision. The room erupted with excitement. Then Rowan spoke again. There will be no selection today. The excitement vanished. Confusion spread through the hall. The council stared in shock. The noble families demanded explanations. Rowan ignored them. Instead, his gaze moved across the room. Straight to Elise. Time froze. I have already chosen. The crowd fell silent. Lord Garrett stepped forward. Your Majesty, what are you saying? Rowan's voice echoed through the hall. Her name is Elise Thorne. Gasps filled the room. The tray slipped from Elise's trembling hands and shattered against the marble floor. She will be my queen. Chaos exploded. Nobles shouted. Council members protested. Families demanded answers. The rejected candidate stared in disbelief. But Rowan remained calm. He crossed the room. Every step brought him closer to Elise. Closer to changing history. When he finally stood before her, he extended his hand. You once said this would destroy you when it ended. His voice was gentle. So I'm making sure it never ends. Elise could barely breathe. The entire kingdom seemed to be watching. What have you done? She whispered. Rowan smiled. What I should have done the moment I met you. Then he asked the question that would change both their lives forever. I chose you, Elise. His hand remained extended. Will you choose me? The palace waited. The kingdom waited. Even time seemed to wait. Elise looked at the man before her. Not the king. Not the Alpha. The lonely soul who had seen her when nobody else did. The man who refused to let her remain invisible. Tears filled her eyes. Slowly, she placed her hand in his. I choose you. The crowd erupted once more. But neither of them cared. For the first time in her life, Elise was no longer a shadow. She was seen. She was loved. And she was chosen. The invisible maid had become the king's queen. And the kingdom would never be the same again.